Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today and taking your time this evening to spend a little bit of time with us and ask any questions that you have. Joining us here today is the YOSA senior staff. We'll go through introductions in just a minute. But first of all, I would like to say I'm Brandon Hinson. I'm the YOSA Executive Director. And I just, on behalf of all the staff, the YOSA board, all the faculty, thank you so much for sharing your young musicians with us this year. I know it is a challenging time, and we thank you for your flexibility and the fact that you still want to be a part of the YOSA family and during this challenging time. It really means a lot to us, and thank you for trusting us with your kids to make sure that we are having a quality music education program, but also doing it safely as well. So thank you for that. As I mentioned before, my name is Brandon Hinson. I'm the Executive Director of YOSA. I have been with YOSA since 2012. I had held a previous role as the YOSA Operations Director before becoming the Executive Director. And then we have three other YOSA senior staff members here. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves as well. So we'll start with Mr. Peters.
Hi everybody, I'm Troy Peters. I am the music director at YOSA, and I've been here since 2009. So this is the beginning of my 12th season at YOSA. Before coming here, I was the music director of the Vermont Youth Orchestra for 14 years. And before that, I was on staff at the Philadelphia Youth Orchestra for 5 years. And so I've basically been involved with leading youth orchestras since I was an undergraduate student in college. My whole professional life has been tied up with youth orchestras, and I'm super happy to be a part of this great team at YOSA.
Great. And Lindsay?
Hi, my name is Lindsay Byrne. I'm the operations director. I've been here since 2018, so almost 2 years. And I have a background in theater, and I'm a professional stage manager. I've been doing that since about 2002, and also very happy to be here working with all the young musicians here at YOSA.
And Ben?
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Hackett. I am YOSA's Development Director. I've been with YOSA since 2013, and I think I've had just about every job on staff aside from Troy and Brandon's job. My background is music. I call myself a recovering music major. And I really, really enjoy working for YOSA and helping us change kids' lives through music.
Great. And also, just so you know, Ben will be monitoring the chat on this Zoom call as well. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to put into there, he'll be monitoring that chat. Just a quick little Zoom etiquette before we go on here. Just make sure that your microphone is muted, please. As people were coming in, they were muting their microphones, so it looks like we're all used to doing these sorts of meetings. So thank you very much for that. We will have time for additional questions at the kind of when we go through some of our frequently asked questions presentation that we're going to do here. I will facilitate by calling on people who have questions and ask that you use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and we'll make sure that we get to you and hear your question and do our best to answer them. So we're going to kick things off. Probably the most frequently asked question that we had in the last week or so is kind of information about the concert. So I'm going to turn it over to Troy to take us through that.
Thanks. Some of this information went out via email earlier today, but I wanted to just start by saying there's a reason why we hadn't announced our details of concerts until now, and it is simply that we are trying to do our best not to make plans before we're ready to make plans. Given the rapidly shifting landscape of the public health conditions, we want to really make sure that we're making commitments that we're able to honor as much as possible. And we also recognize we may need to be flexible and circumstances may change. But that's why we waited to announce this information. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about our plans for the spring. But in the weekend before Christmas, in December, we will be presenting a weekend of concerts at the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts. And you can see the schedule on screen. Over the course of Saturday and Sunday, each musician who's currently participating will be invited to participate in a program on stage at the Tobin Center. And one of the reasons that we're presenting at the Tobin Center is that it has a very large stage, and with the size groups we're putting on stage this year, we can spread them out quite a bit on that stage. There's also a very large volume of air and a state-of-the-art air handling system that's only 6 years old, that was built when the Tobin Center was renovated in 2013, 2014. But the air handling units were the last thing to go in that construction process. And so they're a relatively recent installation, which basically means we have a facility that has better air circulation than most other performing arts centers, and a very large volume of air relative to the number of people who would be inside. We're also talking about fewer musicians per concert than we would normally have, shorter programs than we would normally have, and there will be, we hope, assuming that public health conditions allow this, there would be a free socially distanced audience so that people who want to attend in person can get free tickets from the Tobin box office. Those tickets will be available on November 2nd. We're going to have a limit of 5 tickets per family, and that's just to ensure that in our largest concerts, we can still have abundant room for interested families to be involved without having too many people in the hall. The capacity of the Tobin Center normally is over 1,700 people, but this will be a third of that or less, depending on how many people get tickets for these concerts. The programs will also be streaming online, and we hope on the video screen in the Riverwalk Plaza. That's our current plan. We expect that should be a doable thing. And so what it means is that audience members who do not feel comfortable sitting in the audience seating could watch outside in the Riverwalk Plaza or could watch online. This performance is not required for YOSA membership, and so if there are families who decide that their musicians don't want to play inside for this concert, they could opt out of the concert but continue to be YOSA musicians. We would just ask for that you notify YOSA staff and conductors so that if we have parts that aren't covered, if the only second clarinet is going to be missing from a group, that we can adjust to make sure that all the parts are covered for everybody to have a good musical experience. But with everything we're doing this year, one of our real paramount goals has been to make sure that families can choose which modality they want to participate in. And we'll talk more about that tonight. But that's why we have people who are participating in rehearsals in person, and we have people who are participating in rehearsals via Zoom. We won't be able to welcome musicians as performers at this concert remotely, just because the technology doesn't exist for us to do that. But we will certainly allow students who aren't able to play in person to continue as members, to view the concert at home, and then to rejoin us remotely for rehearsals, or rejoin us in person for rehearsals. So if you have questions about the concerts, we'll have more time to talk later. Feel free to put questions in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll start reviewing some of that later on. If we can go on to the next slide. A lot of the other questions we've had are about our other concert plans. Many people have asked, what about our spring concert plans? And we are not yet announcing the details of our spring concert plans because we want to see how things go in December. We also feel like it's not really prudent to make plans for a large event like this far in advance in the current circumstances of the pandemic. And so we're going to wait at least until after the December concerts have happened to solidify the layout of our spring concerts. I can tell you that we have concert dates reserved both in the Tobin Center and at Laurie Auditorium, so that we will be able to present groups on large stages in large rooms with good ventilation. The YOSA Philharmonic is currently scheduled to perform on May 23rd, Sunday, May 23rd, with guest artist Anthony McGill, who is the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic. And of course, as with all of our plans, we will be flexible and potentially adjust, but that's our current plan for that. We do not expect that it'll be possible to present YOSApalooza in May of 2021. Some of you are familiar with YOSApalooza. There may be families here who have not been a part of that. The YOSApalooza has been a tradition since the Tobin Center opened of presenting all of our YOSA musicians in one concert. And so we typically have more than 500 young musicians and more than 1,700 people in the audience. It's a remarkable, joyful, wonderful afternoon. But right now, putting 2,200 people in the Tobin Center doesn't seem like it's something that'll be likely to be possible in May of 2021. So we're not expecting that we'll be able to present YOSApalooza. But we are planning to present concerts with smaller groups, shorter programs, and so on. Classic Albums Live is a program that we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, presenting landmark rock and pop albums with live performances by soul, R&B, rock, country, mariachi musicians, backed up by the musicians of the YOSA Philharmonic. We've done tributes to Selena and the Beatles and the Eagles and Prince, and these have been a very popular event over the last several years. Right now, we do have a date on the calendar for a Classic Albums Live concert in March of 2021, March 7th, which is the Sunday at the beginning of the spring break. This concert would feature members of the YOSA Philharmonic performing with a rock band. The programs and other details will be announced in early January, again, because we want to get further down the road and make sure that presenting this concert is something that we can do in a safe and healthy way. So we're not quite ready to say that we can commit to that, but we are planning for it and hopeful that we'll be able to do that program. And then I would just close on this section by saying that flexibility has been central to all of this. We know that we've had to adjust plans, and frankly, this fall, we've been fortunate that in some cases we've been able to do more than we expected in person because things have been going well locally. But it could also be there will be times when things are going less well locally, and so we may have to flex in the other direction. Throughout this, whether we have to cancel or reschedule events, or whether we have to move events to virtual arenas or perform online, or however we respond to those circumstances, we're going to prioritize your kids. This is about trying to give your kids musical experiences they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. And so we know we can't do that in the same way that we have typically done it, but we're going to keep trying to find ways to do it as powerfully as we can during the current pandemic. And we look forward to the time when 2,200 of us can gather for YOSApalooza again. We've had a few other questions about other aspects of the educational and artistic experience. We have sectionals not happening in person for our string orchestras this fall. We've been doing sectionals via Zoom. Our Temple Bethel sectionals were last Sunday, September 27th. We will have Tri-Point sectionals coming up on October 18th. For those October 18th sectionals, the sectional rehearsal will take the place of the regular rehearsal. So the 4 string orchestras at Tri-Point will not have an in-person rehearsal on October 18th. They will just have Zoom sectionals. We've been asked about whether these are required. We do expect all YOSA musicians to attend their online sectionals. I will also say to you that throughout our orchestras this year, we have essentially suspended our attendance policy. We are asking that everybody attend when they're able to attend. And so if circumstances or scheduling prevent attendance, we understand that. But when we hold an online sectional, we would expect all musicians to attend if they are able to do so. We've also been asked about seating auditions, and the wind ensemble and our string orchestras will have seating auditions via video in November. This will be similar to what we did with our membership auditions last summer, that we will have a video seating audition. But in this case, the auditions will be judged anonymously. So the audio will be played for the judges without them being able to access the video. And then so that they will judge the audition without knowing who the video is. We still request video so that our operations team can verify that we're listening to a recording of your student and not Yo-Yo Ma or someone else you hired to play their audition. Not that anyone would ever do that, but it just makes sure that we can confirm that what we see is what we get. And then our judges will not see, they will just hear. Excuse me. Unfortunately, we will not hold a concerto competition this year. With the current circumstances, our relationship with the San Antonio Symphony, last spring, the symphony was not able to accommodate our concerto competition winner. If they're able to accommodate anyone in this season, they would bring back our concerto competition winner from last year. We don't know that that will be possible, but at least for this academic year, the concerto competition is suspended, and we'll resume that when we're able to present a performance opportunity with the San Antonio Symphony for that winner. And then one of the other questions that's come up a lot is, what can I do if I want to switch modalities? I've been on Zoom, and now I think I'm ready to come in person. And the answer is, just come to rehearsal if you'd like to come to rehearsal. You don't need permission or approval to change modalities. The rehearsal situation is set up to welcome all current members of the group. And so each week when we set up, we have enough chairs and music stands for all musicians, even though we know that some of them will be on Zoom. If all of a sudden everybody showed up, we would still have enough space to accommodate all members with appropriate distancing in rehearsal. For those of you who've been online, just a word to say that our students have been doing a remarkable job. I've been so pleased and impressed by the seriousness with which YOSA musicians have taken the safety guidelines. I have seen no students remove their face coverings. I have seen no students being too close to each other. They're not hugging. They're not high-fiving. They're standing apart from each other. They're keeping their face coverings on, and they have followed our instructions to go outside after rehearsal to have a conversation or catch up with a friend, to do that outside with adequate space and not to be gathering and talking indoors. And so we're really pleased with that. Our operations team's done a great job with setup. All of our musicians are at least 6 feet apart, and often it's a little more than that. And all of the music stands and chairs are disinfected between every rehearsal each day. Each time we have rehearsal, we are having shorter rehearsals. We are having smaller groups. We are doing everything we can to try and provide the lowest level of risk that we can in this environment. The YOSA Wind Ensemble started online this fall, as some of you may know, and we've had a few questions about whether the YOSA Wind Ensemble will begin to meet in person. And based on our conversations with our conducting faculty and also with local band directors and the experiences that band programs have been having this fall with having musicians play, I'm happy to say that we are going to begin to offer some face-to-face rehearsals for the YOSA Wind Ensemble. And so this coming Sunday, on October 4th, the ensemble will still be online. But starting on Sunday, October 11th, the Wind Ensemble will begin to meet in person on a rotating schedule. We'll have woodwinds the first week with the brass on Zoom. The next week, the brass will be in person with the woodwinds on Zoom. And that weekly rotation will continue throughout October and into November through Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, we'll start to offer full wind ensemble rehearsals in person on November 29th and have the chance to have 3 full rehearsals before the December 20th concert. At Radius, where this group is rehearsing, we have a space that's large enough to accommodate winds and brass with ample social distancing and a high ceiling. And we also have a space where there are doors to the outside on both ends of the room. So we're able to open those doors to the outside and have cross ventilation of outside air without having musicians be outside in the elements during the rehearsal. And so we expect we should be able to provide a safe environment. And wind ensemble families will receive more information before the October 11th rehearsal about how to prepare for rehearsal. The last thing I'd add is that, as with all of our rehearsals, families who do not want to come in person yet are welcome to attend via Zoom. And so a woodwind player who doesn't want to rehearse in person on October 11th can still attend on Zoom and still be a member of the YOSA Wind Ensemble.
All right, thank you, Troy. And as Troy mentioned, all the young musicians that are at in-person rehearsals have been doing a fantastic job of following kind of safety protocols that we've put in place. And so it's always good to just kind of review those as well. People have asked, what exactly are we doing to ensure that in-person rehearsals are as safe as possible? So I'm going to ask Lindsay to kind of take us through kind of what our safety protocols have been for the COVID-19.
Thanks, Brandon. So what are YOSA's COVID-19 safety procedures during rehearsals? And those answers did already come in your musician packet. So if you got that, you will already have a list of these procedures, but I'm going to go ahead and go over them again. So Brandon, if you could go to the next slide, thank you. So rehearsal times are shortened to no more than 90 minutes, and some are even shorter at 60 minutes. So keeping those as short as possible. The chairs, as Mr. Peters said, are separated by at least 6 feet and sometimes even more than 6 feet. All of the staff, conductors, and musicians are required to wear face coverings when they're in rehearsal unless they're playing a woodwind or brass instrument. We are asking everyone to social distance 6 feet apart at least, and asking everyone to wash their hands frequently while they're in rehearsal. The YOSA staff is cleaning and disinfecting all the chairs and stands in between every rehearsal. So as soon as all the musicians leave, we're furiously cleaning those chairs and stands for the next group to come in. And strings and percussion are rehearsing separately from woodwind and brass players. And we will not be bringing those large ensembles together until we are able to do that safely. And if you could go to the next slide, please, Brandon. Another protocol we've implemented is we're asking parents not to come into the building, and if they are, just to drop their student off and then exit. And of course, they are also required to wear a mask, but we are asking the parents to stay out to keep a minimum of people in the building. We are conducting COVID-19 symptom screening, which involves taking everyone's temperature that enters rehearsal. And along with our safety procedures, we are following the Greater Safer Together pledge through the city of San Antonio, and we did take the pledge, and all of our procedures mirror the pledge with Greater Safer Together, including temperature taking, wearing masks, social distancing, hand washing, and also just making sure that the YOSA staff has been trained and updated on all these procedures. And you can go to the next slide, please, Brandon. Thank you. Another question that we had was, what protocol does YOSA have in place if a YOSA musician or staff member tests positive for COVID-19? And then along with that, have there been any confirmed cases in YOSA this season? The answer to that is no, we have not had so far any in-person musician, in-person rehearsals, or staff member or conductor test positive for COVID. If that does happen, we will contact YOSA, oh sorry, not YOSA. We will contact San Antonio Health, and we will make sure to follow their guidelines on what to do. So that involves contact tracing, contacting parents, possibly even canceling rehearsals if need be. But thankfully that has not happened yet. So, but we will be prepared and following the city's guidelines if that is what we need to do. Another question we had is, what is the plan if there's a second wave of COVID-19 infections in San Antonio? And as you may have seen in our weekly email, we are following what Northside ISD is doing as far as in-person rehearsals. So if there were a spike in COVID and Northside ISD decided to go to online classes or no longer have in-person classes, then we would no longer have our in-person rehearsals and we would go to our Zoom online rehearsals. Of course, we're still going to be following the state of Texas, city of San Antonio, and CDC guidelines and staying on top of everything that's happening and making sure that, you know, putting the safety of musicians and the staff and conductors is always first. So if there's any question about safety, we would definitely move to the online rehearsals to keep everyone safe. Another question we had is, what should I do if I want to start joining rehearsals in person or on Zoom? And Mr. Peters already answered that question. But the answer again is you don't have to do anything, just show up. Or if you decide you want to join on Zoom instead of come in person, just go ahead and join on Zoom, and you'll find all that information in the weekly email. And then finally, what can I do to help keep rehearsals safe? And if Brandon, if you would switch to the next slide, please. All right, so if your musician does in fact attend rehearsal in person and then test positive for COVID-19, please let us know immediately. So we can start contacting Metro Health and implementing any policies and procedures that we would need to do if we had someone test positive. So if that does happen, please let us know as soon as possible. The other thing we do ask is that YOSA musicians must be able to answer no to the questions below. And this is also was also in your packet that you received at the beginning of the year. But they are, have you experienced COVID symptoms within the last 14 days? Have you or any of members of your household traveled internationally or to any area in the United States that was reported to be highly affected with COVID within the last 30 days? Or, oh, sorry, let me move this out of the way. Oops, my Zoom picture's in the way of the last question. It's, have you been diagnosed or anyone in your household diagnosed with COVID within the last 30 days? So if you do or not able to answer no to any of those questions, you do need to refrain from coming to in-person rehearsal and join the rehearsal on Zoom. And we did have a few students who had some other students test positive at their school, and they did the right thing by saying they're going to stay on Zoom and quarantine, and then they'll join us back at rehearsal after the quarantine period is over. So that is absolutely what you should do. If that happens at your school and you need to quarantine, just join on Zoom and join us when the quarantine period is up. And I believe that is the end of my slides.
Thank you, Lindsay. And I'll just hit home again too that if your musician tests positive, please do notify us so that we can put in the proper procedures in place. I hope that we don't have to have any kind of notification like that. So, but if it does happen, please reach out to us and let us know. Another frequently asked question that came in was about YOSA travel. Every other year, YOSA takes an international or national tour, and then also at the beginning of the seasons, we've been doing these season kickoff retreats at Mo Ranch. And so people were asking, is there going to be any kind of traveling going on this season? And unfortunately, the answer is no. It's just not safe to do so. And we are definitely prioritizing the health and the safety of the musicians. And there was just not a possibility of us doing it this season. We hope that we will be able to resume going to Mo Ranch and resume our tours when it is safe to do so. So no to travel this year. Another frequently asked question that we get is how can we support YOSA? YOSA is a nonprofit organization, and we are very fortunate to have a lot of community support. And so I thought I would ask Ben to go ahead and kind of take us through ways that people can help YOSA be a thriving organization.
Absolutely. So I always like to start this by answering the question of why YOSA needs to raise money. And I think it's especially important to answer that question for you all, since you all pay tuition to YOSA. And the answer is that 60% of YOSA's overall income comes from fundraising. It's the main way that we pay for what we do. And donations, they keep tuition relatively affordable for our families. They offer need-based tuition assistance for families who can't afford the tuition. And it supports all of our diversity and inclusion initiatives like the Rising Star Fellows, the YOSA Invitational, YOSA Moss Roosevelt. And if you aren't familiar with those last three programs, I'd encourage you to go to the YOSA website and check them out. So you can see what we're working on when we're not running rehearsals. Brandon, you can go to the next slide. And luckily, you can help. Everyone can help. The most obvious way is to just donate online. Or it doesn't have to be online. There are many ways to donate to YOSA, but it's really easy to go to the YOSA website and donate. You can make a one-time donation, or you can sign up for monthly donations, and every little bit really does help us get to our goal. Another way that I've seen that's been really popular lately are Facebook fundraisers. These are especially popular for people's birthdays. So if you have a birthday coming up in the next year, which I hope all of you do, what you can do is you can just go to the YOSA webpage, click start a fundraiser, and start a fundraiser for your birthday. It's a great way to raise money for YOSA, and also a great way to spread kind of awareness of YOSA within your Facebook network. Another interesting way is to check with your employer. There are a couple of things that you can do with your employer. Some businesses in town like to support nonprofits through donations and sponsorships. And I found that the most effective way to get support from a business is for an employee of that business to ask for the support. I can go ask, but I'm just a guy. So asking is really helpful, even if they say no. And another way that a lot of employers, or some employers, like to help out nonprofits is by offering matching donations. So basically, if you donate to YOSA, your employer may donate that same amount to YOSA. And USAA is the largest organization that I can think of that has a big matching donation program, but there are a lot of businesses in town that will do that for their employees. And so again, you can just ask the people in charge if they have a matching donation program. Shop on Amazon Smile. This one is interesting. A lot of us are giving lots of our money to Amazon these days. And so the Amazon Smile program, if you use the Amazon Smile program, Amazon will donate a portion of your purchase cost to YOSA. So it doesn't cost anything extra to you. It comes out of Amazon's profits. And all you have to do there is to just type in amazonsmile.com into the browser, and you can search for YOSA, or you can use this really handy link that we created, just music.yosa.org/Amazon. And then you just you go to that link, and then you would use Amazon like you normally do. You don't have to worry about anything. It doesn't cost you anything else, and a little piece of your purchase price gets donated to YOSA. And then the last thing that I'll mention is just be an advocate, and this might be the most important thing you can do, is to be an advocate for YOSA. Tell your friends and family about YOSA. Like and share our posts on social media. The more that people see what YOSA does, the more people will be inclined to support our work and to help us be a healthy organization going forward. And you can go to the next slide, Brandon. We do have one upcoming opportunity here, one kind of specific opportunity. This is a fundraising event. It's called YOSA Standing Ovation Week, and it's a replacement, I should say a virtual replacement for our annual fundraising luncheon that we hold in October every year. This is really cool this year. We have a bunch of really prominent people who have agreed to participate in this event for us. Some of those are our very own Troy Peters. We also have Christine Lampreia, who is a YOSA alumnus and Sphinx Medal of Excellence winner and a really outstanding cello soloist. She's going to perform for us. Mayor Ron Nierenberg is going to come speak for the event. Henry Timms, who runs Lincoln Center in New York. That one's really cool. He's also the founder of Giving Tuesday, which that blows my mind. And then the grand finale performance is going to be Augustin Hadlick, who is widely considered to be the best violinist in the world. All these people have agreed to come and participate in this fundraising event on behalf of YOSA. So it's October 19th through 23rd. It's going to be online, YOSA website, YouTube, Facebook. You can tune in and watch it. We'll be raising money through donations, through sponsorships, and everything. All the information is available online right now on the YOSA website. One way to help us with this is just to go to Facebook, go to our Facebook event, and mark yourself as interested or going, and that will help us spread the word about this event. So there's lots of different ways to help, and every little bit of help is important to help us reach our goal. So that's the end of my spiel, and thanks for listening patiently while I ramble on about all of this.
Thank you, Ben. I'll also add, too, that during the Standing Ovation Week, we will have appearances by YOSA musicians as well. Will be involved, too. So it's great to have the families involved with that as well. That is basically our coverage of the kind of the frequently asked questions. I'm going to go ahead and open it up right now to anybody who might have any additional questions. You can use the raise hand function in Zoom, and we will be happy to listen and do our best to find an answer for you. So if there are any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand. Were there any questions in the chat? Okay. Well, I don't see any raised hands here.
Gosh, I have a question for you guys. How did you all get so fabulous? You really can ask questions if you want. I'll say one other thing to stall, which is that if you don't want to ask a question in this forum, please always feel free to reach out to staff with questions. Lindsay and I especially interact with parents all the time about questions. And then if you have questions about development, I know Ben is always happy to hear from parents who want to talk more about development.
All right, we don't, looks like no questions at this point. Let me just kind of conclude with saying again, thank you so much for trusting us with your musicians this season during this challenging time. And I'd also like to just kind of thank my colleagues that were on this Zoom call today. And it's a fabulous team to work with. And I know all of the YOSA staff really does have what is best in mind for your young musicians. So please feel free to reach out to us if you do have any questions, concerns, anything like that. And again, thank you so much. You can see this final photo here is of, I believe, our last YOSApalooza that we did. And I hope someday we'll be able to be back in that HEB Performance Hall in the Tobin Center with the celebration of all of the YOSA musicians together. So thank you for all you do to help us make sure that we are operating safely so we can make sure that we come back strong. Thank you so much and have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.